Yo, 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 what's good, YouTube? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back. Welcoming you to Stormybman on Tank Davis. Tank Davis is a star. Listen, we're going to talk about Tank Davis a little bit this afternoon, and I welcome every and anybody that's out there that's willing to listen to this live editorial where Stormy is going to just talk about the fight that took place last night, what it really means in the sport of boxing for Tank Davis, what it means for those that are in his weight class, you know, and around his weight class, his contemporaries, let's say. And it's going to be an interesting ride going forward with Mr. Tank Davis. I know that a lot of people are critical of Tank. A lot of people may have their own thoughts about him, you know, that may not parlay into what is the actual consensus when it comes to the young man. But, you know, Floyd Mayweather and Leonard Ellaby, they may be crazy, but they also may be crazy like a fox, you know? These men have guided this young man's career, and you're seeing the results of the choices that they have made with Tank Davis. And the results can't be denied. The fact that he had his fight there in Atlanta and you saw the show out, you know, the people coming out to show support and everything, it speaks volumes. And again, we're talking about something that can't be denied. There is something to be said about last night's efforts, the fact that this fight was put together, the fact of how it was brought together, you know, how things came to be. And I think that's a little better. I had too much light on me. Stormy B man don't want to shine too much. There's a lot of work and preparation that goes into preparing a young fighter to be a star, especially when he has something that the people like. Shout out to 78 Sports TV, where one time during one of his streams, he talked about Tank being, you know, like one of those little kids you grew up in the neighborhood, you know, the little light-skinned kid that was bad as hell, terrorizing the neighborhood. But when somebody wanted to get at them, somebody was always protecting them and saying, oh, leave him alone, you know. And it's funny, but that was so something that I could relate to, because I grew up and I saw that. And it was funny when it was happening, you know. So it's like, here we are in the sport of boxing, and there's that little high yellow kid, and he's out there terrorizing his divisions with his efforts in the ring. And it has to be acknowledged that they know what they're doing with this young man. In Atlanta, to just see the capacity of the crowd, and there were stars out there in the crowd, you know, entertainers, former fighters, you know, musicians, you know, or music people, because there ain't a lot of musicians around today, right? It's just people who grab a mic and start saying stuff. But yeah, and it has to be acknowledged. You have to pay attention to what you're witnessing. And I do believe that, for better or for worse, for good or bad, you have to look at this young man as being put in a great position. Emmanuel Stewart, one time when doing a HBO broadcast and interview, he spoke about Floyd Money Mayweather, and he talked about, you know, all-time greats and things like that. But he said, giving credit and paying live homage to Floyd Mayweather Jr., that Floyd Mayweather may have been the smartest fighter of all time. And coming from Emmanuel Stewart, it could have been something that was said in the moment. It could have been something that many people glossed over, or it just went over their heads totally. But Emmanuel has been gone from us a number of years now, and Floyd is still showing that intelligence, man. He knows how to make a buck. He knows how to entertain. And selfishly, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, regardless of what we want, right? As fans, as participants of the sport, you know, who tune in to the sport, as participants of the sport who compete against that box office draw and entity. And now it's like he has taken Tank Davis under his wing and looked to shape and cultivate this young man and his career in a manner that is quite similar. Of course, Tank offers something that Floyd never had, and that is knockout power. When you talk about a guy being able to go out there and sleep people at any point during the fight, you have to really respect that, because that's what people want to see at the end of the day. People want the knockout. It's just like when you go to the baseball game, you hope to see a home run by your team, right? You hope that one of your sluggers come to bat and knock it out the park, And it can happen. And we look for that. You know what I mean? I tell you, Floyd is smart. If you look at how things have gone, Mario Barrios and Tank Davis's paths were very close as far as the fight cards where they were fighting, and there was a build-up. Some people don't pay attention to the finer details, but Mr. Mayweather is a little sharper, man. And when he just had this recent match himself against Jake Paul, he said he felt like it was robbing the bank, you know, again. But that was a play on words, but at the same time, a true sentiment, because he knows that there's an audience that's willing to spend that dollar and pay for entertainment. And he knows how to provide that entertainment. It might not necessarily be what you want or I want or the next guy wants, but there is an audience out there to pay for it. How much revenue did the Mayweather-Paul promotion generate? Think about it. Now, at the end of the day, Tank struggled in this fight last night, but he also prevailed, and he prevailed in the most exciting of ways. If you notice during the fight, there were moments when the crowd, when Tank would throw something, because early on he was having trouble gauging the distance and being leery of the strength and power of Barrios, because he didn't know, you know, exactly what he's dealing with right away. So he has to be careful, not just wade in there, right? But when he did do something, when he did let his hands go, did you see how the crowd just would erupt? You know, dude, who are they doing that for these days outside of him? I haven't seen in boxing, and you could talk about Canelo Alvarez all you want, but the crowds don't respond in kind like for Canelo like they did for Tank last night. I mean, the whole stadium, you know? And that's something to be said because it's teaching, a teachable moment. What do the people want to see? Huh? It's something to be said. I want to say salute to Bernard Burton out there in that super chat, man. He says salute Stormy and chat. Salute to you, Bernard Burton. We appreciate you with your donation to the channel, bro. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. And also General Squirrels out there in that super chat. He says salute Stormy in the chat. Salute to you, General Squirrels. Appreciate you guys with your donations, man. Yeah. And Akondo out there, he says Tank is box office. Akondo's channel member here. Yes, he is, Akondo. And those are the kind of things we have to talk about, you know. It's one of the reasons why I thought to just come on with this live, because we see so much improperness celebrated in the sport of boxing today. Need I mention certain people, heavyweights that are getting ready to fight, you know, and one in particular. But that's not what this stream is about, to give acknowledgement. But it's an observation of how the present media go about their works. And even as we talk about what's happening in and around the divisions where Tank has told, you think about certain individuals and how the media has treated them and lack of accomplishment. You do one little thing and here they are and they're talking about you and trying to put you in the Hall of Fame and all of that stuff, and not demanding any excellence of you. But anyone else, like Tank or Devin Haney, or Shakur Stevenson, they're demanding greatness out of these individuals by not just allowing their careers to manifest and it to take place, but it's almost a biased viewpoint of taking them and looking at them as if, oh, you need to do more. Well, what more could Tank do last night, ladies and gentlemen? What more could he do? Did he not excite? Did he not, you know, provide drama? Did he not entertain? And that's two, right? Right off the heels of the Santa Cruz situation and coming back here, you saw him do, as we like to say, the damn thing, And my hat's off to him and any of the other fighters that are capable of providing that type of approach to the sport. But you know who deserves their hat being off the most? Floyd Mayweather. Now, during last night's events, there's a couple of ways to look at what took place, right? Floyd was animated and engaged in the corner of Tank Davis, perhaps a little too much. But lo and behold, in those championship rounds, yeah, he was needed. Because even Mr. Ford, Tank's trainer, he wasn't able to get Tank's ear on the significance of where the fight was. And it's something that they're going to have to go back to, you know, the gym and work on and everything. Because I know Tank was totally dialed into what Floyd was saying, even to the degree that it was a distraction at a couple of moments during the fight. And I understand Floyd trying to be that man to bring his protege and his work in progress to a certain point, from point A to point Z. But you can't be a disruptive element during something like this, because in high stakes, you can that bit of distraction could be the difference between a win and a loss. But last night, he was impactful. He was able to get some words of encouragement in by letting him know, hey, we need these rounds, man. This fight is close, you know. And if you ask me, that was Floyd's way of saying to Tank, hey, look here, man. We're in Atlanta. You got all these people here for you and everything. And crowd sentiment and everything is not all we need. We need something out of you as well. So the motivation of, hey, go out there and give me some of these last few rounds, you know. He didn't say you need a knockout to win, which he did. And I said that last night on the post-fight show. He needed this knockout to win this fight, because Tank is now in that situation where he's not just battling the opponent. He's battling the establishment, believe it or not. And though he's not the man that's so vociferous in his situation, he is the commodity that people are either going to be all in, all out, disgruntled, hating, and all of that. So he has a lot on the plate that he'll be dealing with. But when he keeps winning like he did last night, the sky's the limit. And he doesn't have to worry about what crowd sentiment is. He doesn't have to worry about judges and everything, because he has something that is called the great equalizer. Man, did you see that right hook he hit Barrios with? The speed and the power right on the temple, and the man went down like he had been hit by a guy 50 pounds heavier than him. You can't teach that, people. Regardless of what certain trainers try to say about teaching a guy one punch knockout power. No, you can't teach that. That's born, okay? Born from the womb. And you think if he hit that man like that, and they were at 140 pounds. Don't forget, he bumped up 2 weight classes to fight that fight last night. What will he be doing to the guys that are at 130 and 135? You have to give credit to where credit is due, man. And a lot of people just don't want to buy into the fact of what's happening now. And what's happening now is you have a little powder keg, a box of TNT called Tank Davis, that has carved out a niche for himself in the sport of boxing today, that people will come out. They showed it last night. And you know something else? This whole thing about racial pride and divide. Let's just put it out there. Racial pride and divide. I'm here to tell you, when you got someone that's of your culture, you know, that's of your nationality, that's of your country, you do well to show support for that. You do well to do that. You know, everybody else can. Everybody else does. When are we going to learn how to get on board and be on one accord? The very thing they don't want you to be, the establishment, because that creates rifts in the success that they plan. Huh? Remember, I said plan, not achieve, not gain, but what they plan. Because there's always a trick bag waiting for you. Always. Huh? But when you have aces, Tank Davises of the world, Shakur Stevensons of the world, Devin Haney's of the world, show some damn support and love for these guys. Because at the end of the day, the representation of self-adornment and love is more important than self-hate, self-loathing. It's important to understand this. What other fighter have you seen just in the past 6 months have that type of support like this young man had last night? I'll wait. Because usually you'll have to go to a particular city in another nation to see that. America just ain't down with the professional athletes of today and the representation in the sport of boxing that you currently have. They're tired. They're fed up because there has been dominance and supremacy that has existed for more than a minute. And it has to be said. But your buying power, spending that moolah, showing up in the stands, and even coming online like with what I'm doing right now. This is a commentary editorial that is in lieu and support of Tank and his accomplishments. Finally, we got a guy, and he ain't the biggest in the world. Do you see how little the guy is? He's a little man, but he carries a big stick, huh? And as long as he can do what he does to people in the ring like that, the people will show up. There will people be showing up to see him lose. There'll be people showing up because they hating on him. But there'll be people showing up also because he's good at what he does. He entertains. He provides that home run that most people show up to see. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. You just have to keep the proper perspective when you're looking at these things. And you give credit to where credit is due. Huh? Let me take a moment here. We got a lot going on in the chat. I'm glad to see people have come out to show some support here. I really appreciate that. We got my man King Vonnie out there in that super chat. Thank you for your donation. And my man and brother Curtis Anderson, aka Kurt Sugar, out there in the super chat. We appreciate your donations to the stream, brothers. Appreciate you so much, man. But this is what it's all about, man. And I'm going to tell you something. Early on, I was not necessarily a supporter of Tank. But Floyd Mayweather Jr. is teaching me something through this process. Not so much about what he's doing on his personal level. I still don't care for these exhibitions that he's doing and everything. But how he's angled this young man to be in the successful seat that he finds himself, I have an admiration for that. Now, if he could only do that with some more fighters. Don't let all your eggs be in one basket. But what you're seeing is a new way and approach from a different source. These are things that Floyd did in his career late and found tremendous economic success. But to have it done with this young man from, I think Tank is from Baltimore, it's exceptional. He didn't win the Olympics, huh? No medals, huh? No huge tournaments. And we laughed a few years ago when Leonard Ellerbe said, Tank Davis is a star. We laughed, and you heard me open up the show with that line, and it's actually in the title of this show because it was it was something that we found sarcastic, you know, our remarks to that and our sentiments regarding when we heard that from him originally. But what we didn't have any idea of, these people had a plan. And it's in full effect right now. Do you know there are going to be fighters lining up because they think they could get in there and beat Tank's butt? They think they can beat him up. And they'll be lined up for him. And we've already seen the likes of a few who have had his name in their mouths, but they ain't signed no contracts, huh? They ain't signed no contracts. And I wonder why that is. Because true marketability comes when you can bring that ethnic thing to the ring, huh? Bring it on. But where will you be when it's over? Are you going to be just another bump log to throw on the bonfire? Are you going to have to go and get back in line? Think about it. It's something to be considered. And you think that's mental stress. That could cause a mental breakdown. Oh, yes, indeed. There's only one thing about boxing. You have to strike while the iron is hot. And I do believe the management of Tank Davis understands that more than anybody. But guess what they do? Not only do they strike, but they hold the fan for the flames. If you understand what I mean when I say that, you understand why that fight went like it did last night and the end result and how many people left that arena uplifted. Then you begin to understand what the team that's managing this young fighter is on. And I have to take my hat off and respect that. So, as I was saying a few years ago, I wasn't really sold on what they're doing. But now I do believe I have an idea of what this is all about, and I'm all in. And they're not doing it with smoke screens and lies, huh? They're not changing his record when they put his name and face up on the TV screen and they fiddle with the numbers, huh? Instead of this many knockouts, he's got way that many knockouts. And in the event of someone who has suffered losses, instead of having a loss on your record, they erase it and put a 0 up there. He's not taking benefit off of those atrocious approaches to promoting someone. He's all real. All they got to do is show the highlight reel of his knockouts. Huh? And people are like, ooh, ah, damn, oh, yeah. I could get with that. My wife comes in and watches some of the fight last night. She's like, oh, that guy's face is so beat up. I'm like, she was talking about Barrios. Huh? I'm like, yeah, he's I said, but the little guy there, because she don't watch Tank, you know, she has fighters that she likes, but this time, her first time seeing Tank, I said, yeah, the little guy, he can hit like Mike Tyson, but just little like that, right? I said, well, keep watching. And when he went down, when Barrios went down from that right hook to the temple, you should have seen her jump up and down screaming, damn, yeah! I was like, I told you. It was something else, man. But even the casual of observers That's what they want to see. That's what they will tune into. Huh? Great stuff. And hats off to the promoters, huh? And what they gave us. Because even on the undercard, they had some very good fights lined up. That Lubin and Rosario fight, it's a good fight. Shout out to Erickson Lubin for his victory. And sooner or later, he's going to get another shot at the title. And hopefully he'll be prepared to compete at the highest level he needs to, because his first go around didn't work out for him. And we'll see what happens with that. But that's what it's all about, man. Building the blocks for success. And I would recommend any of the younger fighters of today to pay close attention to what's happening with how Tank's career is being guided. Because he's making maximum money right now. And at the end of the day, if you're a fighter, you want to accentuate the economic aspect of what you do, and you may not have to do it for as long or as often. Like I said, I'm seeing some things now. I'm seeing it from a different point of view. And I'm also not allowing the establishment to influence my thought process when it comes down to something like this, because they will try to influence you to not support your own kind. Huh? This is what they did a couple of weeks back with Shakur Stevenson, trying to tell you what he did in his accomplishment of victory was boring. Did he not win, though, ladies and gentlemen? Did he not have his man on the canvas more than once and won damn near every round? That's near perfection as far as I'm concerned. And when he came out with that O in the loss column, when it was all said and done, that was perfection. Don't let nobody else tell you anything different. But like I said, we live in a society where the establishment likes to influence what you see. And remember, you could tell a lie over and over and over again, and people will start to believe it. The bigger the lie, the more they're likely to believe it. That's the establishment and how it works. But who do you allow to influence you, your thinking, your belief, especially when it comes down to self? Huh? Self-belief is a hell of a thing. And then when you have support behind that self-belief, now you can venture forward and begin to knock down walls. Huh? And as you go forward, even still, you knock down walls, you're able to build bridges. Huh? And when you build bridges, people can follow. Just laid it out there for you, just there. This is what we're talking about. And you have to be smart. You have to think for self. He doesn't have to be your favorite fighter, but show some love and support for that fighter. Show some excitement. Get behind him. Because we live in a time where you need to have something solid to get behind. And leave all the fallacy behind. Huh? Leave all the fakeness behind. Huh? The shit talking. Huh? The shit by example. Huh? Leave all that behind. Get on track with something that's real. Get on track with something that you can actually really identify with. And you know you can identify with what I'm talking about. But when you've been brainwashed by the establishment, you like to sit up and just think, well, I don't know, man. All this, I just can't get with dude. You know, shut up and show some support for your brother. Huh? Because anything else is not of truth. Anything else is not of youth. Anything else is not of you. Can't nobody love you like your own. Remember that. And you come up in a society that has actually taught you to not love yourself. Not love yourself. Do you know there were people jumping online this morning and late last night, and even later maybe today, to criticize Tank Davis and his success from last night? Criticize. Yeah, he was getting his ass beat. Really? Did you see the faces of the two dudes when the fight was over? I did. And I didn't even have my glasses on. And I could see what was happening. Huh? Brainwashed. Taught to dislike your own. Huh? Some people will tell you that this right here ain't good, huh? But one of the most high-selling things in our society is chocolate, huh? Cocoa. Huh? They put it in coffee, they put it in candy, they put it in cake, huh? Yeah. You see that? When you hear somebody, I don't like chocolate, whatever, give me some. But the establishment teaches you these things. You don't even know what's good for yourself because you're so busy waiting for somebody to tell you. Huh? I know what's good for me. It's good for me to see more performances out of this young man that fought last night like he did. It's good for me to see more performances out of Shakur Stevenson like his last fight. It's good for me to see more performances like Devin Haney had in his last fight. Huh? It's good. That's entertainment. I could support my own. I could have love and adornment for my own. What's wrong with that? Don't you love your own? If you don't, you're a damn fool. Listen, you guys still got time to get on board with what I'm talking about. Because this is what I like to call a teachable moment. As I said, Tank Davis don't have to be your favorite fighter, but show that love and support for that guy and hope and wish for him that he achieves the highest heights that he can. Do you know after his victory last night, he joined a special class of fighters like Floyd and De La Hoya? Huh? They didn't talk about that a lot on the TV though, did they? But see, that's where we come in. We have to remind you of these things because they're important. Yes, of course he moved up 2 weight classes. But even Floyd and De La Hoya didn't do it like that. Huh? They didn't have what he has. See, everyone who can carve out their own place in history can do it their own way. The important thing is to get there, but to get there together. Don't have people pulling you at the seams and at the sides, trying to drag you off track, off base, with foolishness like you're boring. Oh, you lost every round until you got the knockout. Hey, the fight is scheduled for 12 or less, right? And didn't he do it the last time I checked inside the scheduled rounds? One of their heroes used to say, Yogi Berra, I think it was, it ain't over till it's over. Huh? Learn the right things from the establishment and stop taking on someone else's viewpoint of you for you. Have your own. Otherwise, you might as well be walking around with blindfolds on and letting someone else lead you to everywhere you gotta go. Foolishness. This is why I'm doing this stream today. It's an editorial in lieu and support, because we need that. Positivity. Channel that positive energy. Allow it to come into you where you can out and project it out to someone else. And so forth and so on and so forth and so on. That's what this is all about. I see my likes are much higher than who's in the chat. That's nice. I appreciate that. But I'll tell you, everything I said, it's on the level. You know? And I told you, after that press conference for the heavyweight championship that'll be taking place next month, this channel will take a particular turn going forward because it's necessary. We need proper representation. We don't need mush mouth, what do you call them? Marble-headed people with double-bladed talk coming out of their mouths trying to have representation of us. Yeah, I might have a peanut head myself, but what's coming out of my mouth ain't no garbage. You understand? What's coming out of my mouth is the real. And that's the way it's going to be. Hell, my favorite fighter is the real deal. Holyfield. Huh? A person who represented that. In the ring and outside the ring. It's imperative that we have solid foot on fertile soil. Stand tall. Stand strong. Stand together. Stand united. You remember when Abel Sanchez made the remark, black fighters don't sell? Well, I don't know where he is right now, but it looked to me like Tank Davis sold yesterday, huh? And when we get in a few days what the pay-per-view numbers were, I like to line that up with any of those other fighters out there that they considered face of boxing and see where that lines up. And you can line your shoe right up in Abel Sanchez's ass. Huh? See, but they can come out and say things like that about our fighters because they have people like us that'll help push the narrative about our fighters. Some of them work for the networks. Huh? Some of them are former fighters. Pretty darn good fighters too when they fought. Huh? But just because they were a good fighter in the ring doesn't mean that they can express great sentiments out of their mouths. Huh? Think about it. Proper representation means everything. Means everything. Just remember this. The establishment operates off of this sentiment right here. It is more important to win than to be right. To win. History is written by who? The winners. Now let me bring it back for a moment. Did Tank Davis not win last night? Did he not win? What history will be written? Did Shakur Stevenson not win? Regardless of what those Flack Jaws guys were saying, right? He won. Did Devin Haney not win? You have to remember what side your bread is buttered on, and you also have to know the difference between your peas, your beans, and your cornbread. That's an old saying. Don't let nobody tell you anything different. And when those fools begin to speak, mute. That's why they got the mute button. Mute their asses. When you want to hear the truth, come right on over here to the Stormybman channel. I'll give it to you. And it won't hurt. The only thing that'll hurt is you trying to break the chains off your minds from the poison that has seeped in there. Huh? But there is a cure. And for those who don't want the cure, there's a way to deal with you too. But remember, you forge ahead, you show the support, you knock the walls down, you build bridges, and then you have followers who can trek across that bridge to help you continue that journey ahead. Community building is what it's all about. And in the sport of boxing, we have a number of participants who come from dire straits and meager beginnings. It's time to celebrate our people. It's time to celebrate our heroes. It's time to celebrate our fighters in the sport of boxing. And for those who have been broken by the establishment, step on over them and continue on the high road. Because don't nobody worry about a turd that's been flushed down the toilet. Do you go seeking where the turd went when you flush? Think about it. I'm telling you, man, it was a great thing seeing Tank get his victory in spectacular fashion last night. Salute to the brother for doing his thing. I really appreciate what they gave us last night, and I hope to see more of that in the future. But I'm going to support this young man and the other young men that I mentioned, Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, because they're all we've got, and we are all they've got. Remember that. I appreciate everybody that came out to listen to me for this live editorial. I appreciate you all. Salute and shout out to the LDBC. This is Stormybman. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. Everybody remain safe. Leave comments if you want in the comment section. Subscribe if you want. But we're doubling down. We've only just begun.